What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and we are back with another betting show. After a terrible week last week, let's be honest, we're back and we're hoping to get a few winners this week. There are two cards this week. There's the PFL, which is coming up probably a couple of hours after you watch this, hopefully, and there's the UFC this weekend as well, which is a pretty bad card. So much so that most of the bets today are coming from the PFL. I'm throwing in a few parlays and trying to get you some good bets from that. This UFC is just not great whatsoever. But look, it's becoming the norm now that you look at a PFL card and you put it against the UFC card, and there's like no discussion whatsoever which is the better card. Like absolutely none. Now if it was a pay-per-view card or something else, yeah, but God almighty, like this PFL card coming up this weekend and the one next week as well, just way better than this UFC card and most of the recent UFC fight night cards. Is this UFC? I assume it's in the Apex. It is in the Apex, and it is one fitting of the Apex, if we're being honest. Before we get to that, though, let's recap our bets. And obviously, because of the last few weeks, the betting show has been a little bit different because we looked ahead a week. I actually have the results for the last 3 weeks, so no Flier sit, obviously, as always. We got one out of the 3 weeks. One of the bets, one of the fights that actually didn't happen, so that didn't count, and the other two Flyers that hit, so 0 and 2 on the Flyers. And then of the 12 bets, one of the fights didn't happen, so that was gone as well. So we hit 5 out of 11, which all in all not terrible, we'll take it. So we're up to a record now of 44 out of 87, just over the 50% that I look for, so not so bad. And then of the Flyers, I don't want to say it. We've only hit 2 in 22 weeks so far, so that's a shit. I honestly, and I've no confidence in the one this week either. Absolutely no confidence. Please ignore my Flyers from here on out. Just to quickly go through the bets. So on the first week, we had a double of Hardwick and Blair, which was -195. That hit. Joe Ambler lost. I think we actually talked about that. But Ligersky and Vamola both won at Octagon, so that was very good. Isa Makachev won by submission. We talked about that, as it cost the fight to go to a decision. And then the other 3 didn't hit that week with Dawson submissions, Dos Santos and Romanov. And then last week, the Dominic Wooding fight didn't happen. He actually fought someone else and lost, but that bet is void because the fight I was talking about didn't happen. I actually think he was a bigger what would it be, a smaller price, a worse price for the remade fight. So thankfully, you hopefully got your money back if you did bet on that one. But the Blake Hooper didn't win in the Flyer. The Imabov Cannonier fight didn't go to decision. Thanks, Jason Herzog. That one's on Jason Herzog. That was not me. But then Lapalus Saman, that was a bad call by me. And Hirata ended up losing. Zamboanga won, but that double didn't hit. So terrible week last week. The 2 weeks before that, not so bad, and the 3 week. 5 out of 11, not too bad, but the Flyers not hitting. Yeah, we had a good run there for a while, but yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle now. But I'm looking forward to a big week and a big couple of weeks coming up here. There's some big pay-per-view cards coming up not too far away as well. So let's get positive and let's go forward here with our bets. Right. So I'm hitting you today with 2 parlays, and I'm hitting you with a UFC bet and a big Flyer as well, which won't hit. But the first bet I'm going for is just a straight up bet, and I'm going for Liz Carmouche to win her fight over in the PFL, and she's taking on Kana Watanabe, whose name I always butcher all the time. Obviously, Liz has been on a very good run over the last while. The last time she fought, she knocked her out in 35 seconds. She's -250 as well. I was actually looking today. The prices for a lot of these are kind of moving around a good bit. And this one in the last day or two has kind of moved from, I was at -199 at one stage, Then it was into minus 250, and then it's some places now it's out to minus 300. Now, would I take it at minus? I'd probably still take it at minus 300, but I'd probably throw it into a parlay. But if that minus 250 price is gone, absolutely look elsewhere, or maybe don't bet on such a price. But that was the price I saw it as today, and that's the price I'm giving it. I'm giving it to you as. Look. There isn't a whole lot of need to break down this fight for someone who knocked the other person out in 35 seconds last time. Although that's not a fair reflection really. That's the only knockout of Watanabe's career. She's 35 years of age. Okay, she hasn't had a whole load of fights. She's only had 16 fights in her career, 13, 2 and 1 draw, and only losing to Juliana and Liz Carmouche, probably the two best women in the history of the Bellator 125-pound division, is not a big thing. She's beaten Shani Young, Vit Ortega, Denise Kilos, Alejandra Lara, Ilya Joanna. So a lot of the other contenders in that division, she's definitely the best out of all of them. And she is a finisher as well. But I think the difference between her and Liz is, Liz is a real good competitor. And it's funny because I think a lot of people, I was actually talking to someone recently about Liz Carmouche, and they have the same thought about Liz Carmouche of when she was in the UFC, that she was kind of, obviously a very, very good fighter. She got to a title shot and all there, obviously the very first woman to ever step into the octagon, but then she was kind of, like a mid-tier fighter and all that. Now, I think she has changed, and I think if she was in the UFC, I actually think, would she have won the title or anything with Shevchenko there? It would have been very, very tough. But I think she would have got, and she did fight Valentina Shevchenko, so the point I was just about to make is a true one. She would have climbed the ranks. But I think, she left the UFC in 2019 was her last UFC fight, first fought in September 2020 for Bellator, as we all know. The pandemic was around about then. But I think if she had stayed, I think with the kind of change she made in her career, I think she probably would have fought her way back towards the top. Even with the level that's in the UFC at the moment in that division. She went on a great run. She had a decision in her first fight after the UFC, in her second fight after the UFC, but before that submission, then TKO, submission, TKO, and only decision in her last fight against Velasquez as well, when, she fought her for the third time, and that can be a bit difficult. So Liz Carmouche has turned into this real finisher, and I interviewed her there, how long ago? It was a couple of months ago, and kind of put that to her. It's what has changed? And she's kind of said that, I have more of an impetus to go in there and finish people and kind of dominate them. And I think that, to give you my long-winded point here about why I'm picking this bet, that's, I think, the difference between her and Watanabe. I think she will take the fight to a place, I think, that a lot of people won't, and I think she will put it on you like a lot of people won't, right? And when you're someone like Watanabe, who is, what did I say again? 13, 2 and 1. You're a winner. You're used to winning your fights. You're used to being the one not controlling necessarily the pace of every fight or anything like that, but you are the better fighter in almost all of your fights. And Liz Carmouche won't allow you to be that. I think she's a very good finisher. Her ground game is very good. She can more than strike with Watanabe. Watanabe has knocked out a few people, but she's not exactly, a massive knockout artist. So her last 3 fights have all gone to a decision. So yeah, I like Liz Carmouche in that, and minus 250 is a pretty good price on that one, in my opinion. Right. Next bet I'm going for is Tatsuro Taira to win in the UFC main event. And his price, I got it at minus 180. It's around that, minus 190 in some other places. I don't see it. It's not up to minus 200 anywhere, so you'll get it around that price. And again, this is actually a similar but simple enough pick for me in terms of my pick. Now, I don't think it's necessarily a simple enough fight. And Alex Perez as well, I think he changed a lot of people's opinions on him with how he performed in that Matheus Nicolau fight. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal in that. Now he's coming off of a 3-fight losing streak and all, but that Makayev fight was close enough, but he lost to Pantoja and Figueiredo before that. And kind of when you lose to 2 champions like that, it's it's not always easy because it's very hard to get back to a championship spot when you've lost to the champion, whether it's whether it's the current champion or a future champion. And you see sometimes, like let's say with the Cheetah Vera, when you have a win over that champion in O'Malley, it's easier to get back to it. So that I know that's but that can be unfair at times, and I feel like not necessarily for Alex Perez, but that's another story for another day. So the point is there, I don't think it'll be an easy out by any means. You look at Pereira's record as well. Okay, he's been submitted a good few times, and you look at Taira's record, and most of his fights not most of his fights, sorry, just less than half his fights end in the submission, and obviously he's 15-0, so that's a fairly high percentage. I just think Alex, again, this is maybe I got stuck in this analysis too much, but I think it is fair for both of these fights. Alex Pereira is a guy who I keep calling him Alex Pereira. I keep calling Alex Perez. I swear I have to call him Alex Pereira through this whole podcast so far. Have I? Alex Perez. And I always go for the Alex Perez. But in that fight with Niccolo, he ran that fight, He ran that fight, and he's one of those guys. I always love to look at a record and go like, there's these sort of guys who you look at a part of their career and you know that they dominated for a while. So between 2012 and 2015, he won all of his fights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fights. 10 fights in a row. He started off his career 13-2. That's the sort of guy that Alex Pereira is, Taira is a similar sort of guy, obviously starting off his career 15-0, sorry. And what do I mean by that? I mean, these guys are used to dominating. These guys want to be, do you ever hear about it like you go, he doesn't know what it means to lose? And maybe you could put that down to Taira as well. But that mindset, some people lose that mindset very quickly once they do lose. Look, I suppose Ronda Rousey's the most famous example of it. She was unbeatable, and suddenly, a guy like McGregor then was kind of the opposite. Not unbeatable, but he lost to Diaz. I want to see who immediately comes back and wins the second fight against Diaz. And I think a lot of people kind of got a lot of respect for McGregor after that. And you could say a lot of different things about McGregor and parts of his game and all, but no, I don't think anyone would take that part of it away. And I think Perez is one of those guys. I think he's one of those guys that even though, he's lost a good few fights since then, lost to Benavidez, and obviously, as I said, the 3 in a row here, I think he still views himself, and, we've seen him in big fights where, and the Figueiredo fight obviously was for the titles, where he got dominated, finished very quickly there. And it would be, and you lose 2 fights after that, it'd be very easy to kind of, write him off. But that bounce back fight against Niccolo, even the bounce back performance against Makayev was an awful lot. So absolutely not writing him out. Now, I've given my bet for Taira, and now I've just talked up Perez there for 10 minutes. But what I'll get to here is, I actually think that might be an issue for him. I think against a guy like Taira, that if you come out and you're the matador, no, that's unfair, but you are the guy who is bringing the fight to someone like Taira, I think that's very much going to play against you. Now, you look at Taira's record, he's never fought anyone near the caliber of Alex Perez. Like, you look, if, most MMA fans look through this, you wouldn't know any of these guys. Like Carlos Hernandez, Edgar Chavez, Jose Antos Aguilar, CJ Vergara, and then you're getting outside of the UFC. No, you don't know any. So this is a massive step up. There's no doubt about that. But I just think this guy, looking at him, and obviously, 125 pounds, guys are going to be fast. And he is fast. But I think a big difference here is he's big and fast. Now, I'm looking at their heights. There's only 1 inch in the height difference between them. But I think Taira fights. I think he's a bigger man rather than just a taller man. And I think that, with the speed, with taking away maybe the the running of the fight from a guy like Perez is going to be very tough to deal with. You'll see a takedown thrown in there. Like, you'll see Taira coming inside and landing his big shots and making it hard for Perez. I can't see Perez doing to Taira what he did to Nicolo. I really can't. And I think this is the crux of the argument here. That's what makes Perez very good. And I don't think he can do that to Taira. So for that reason, I'm picking Taira, and I like that price as well. As I said, let's just see here how it's been moving around. It actually started out at minus 170, so the price is getting a little bit worse all the time. Actually, it was a minus 196 at one stage. As I said, I got it at minus 180, so I'll take it. I'll take it at that price. Right, bet number 3. I'm going for a parlay, and I'm going for a heavyweight PFL parlay first of all. And I'm going for Valentin Moldavsky and Denis Goltsov both to win. And that's minus 154. So a pretty good price there for both of those to win. Valentin Moldavsky is fighting Linton Vassell. And Denis Goltsov has a new opponent on short notice in Thiago Santos. First of all, the Moldavsky-Vassell fight. If you haven't seen my preview, please check it out for this card. I talk more in depth about it. But these two have fought twice before. They're 1-1. The first fight was in 2019 when Moldavsky won a unanimous decision over Vassell. The last fight was in 2023 when Vassell knocked out Moldavsky in a shocking win in the first round. You might be thinking, Shawnee, you're picking Moldavsky here last year, around this time last year, in fact, a little bit more, about 14 months ago or so. He got finished by him, knocked out by him. A few things have happened since. 2-0 for Moldavsky since. For Vassell, he is 0-1, lost to Denis Goltsov. And I think it's the Goltsov fight I want to talk about, and it's the Taila fight I want to talk about. First of all, the Taila fight. Coming into that for Valentin Moldavsky, he had one knockout in 16 heavyweight MMA fights, one knockout, which is not a great record. But he obviously has come into this, looked at it as like, well, this is a season. I can't take much damage here. I'm going to have to change the way I fight. And he upped it and finished him. And I believe, actually I was talking about this on the preview and talking about this elsewhere as well. And I now believe that, what was it? Okay, there's two. Is it the matchup or is it because of the season? I believe it's because of the season now. I've kind of made that decision. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. And I think if that is the case against Vassell, I think it's bad news for Vassell. And honestly, maybe all the heavyweights in this division, because this lad at his best can be absolutely brilliant. It felt like, I often say this about Israel Adesanya, kind of holds himself back a little bit. Like this guy, and he's very, very, very talented, but sometimes, you're in there like Weezy, you're in there with a Jarrah Cannonier. Let things go out and win it. Like go out and destroy that guy. Like you look at Moldavsky, decision with Ryan Nelson, decision with Tim Johnson, decision with Ayala, even Vassell the first time, decision with Mowry. Like Mowry may be a bit of a different one because he's such a tough one, but come on, you're talented enough. You need to be winning those fights. Like lost to Ryan Bader, you need to be winning those fights. And I think sometimes in a guy's career, a switch just flicks. I always say a flick just switches, but here I got it right that time. And I think that's what's happened to him. And I kind of hope that as well, because he's potentially a very, very, very good fighter if he can just do that. So, and the other side of it then, just to finish on this, Vassell was so bad against Goltsov, tired, just a terrible, terrible performance against Goltsov. So, if I don't joke to that, yeah, I'm going for Moldavsky in that one. And in the other bet is the aforementioned Goltsov. This one is a simpler enough one for me, I think. Thiago Santos just hasn't looked the same recently. We all know, he's 40 years of age. We know the problems with the knees. Lost. He's won no contest in there, but he's lost, 6 of his last 7 fights, only losing to Johnny Walker in that very, very close decision fight. Lost to Yoel, Hale, and Goliath, Rakic, Teixeira, and obviously all since that John Jones loss. So, I think Goltsov on short notice, like we don't often see Santos maybe taken down and wrestle, but I think that's going to be what happens here. Now, if he stays on the feet, he absolutely has a chance. So, thinking about it more, maybe it could happen. I don't know. Maybe don't bet in this one. I don't know. I just double thought myself there. I was like, what if he does stop? But Goltsov can fight on the feet as well. The problem with Goltsov is he does get caught on the feet the odd time. But look, he's won 6 of his last 7 fights, only losing to Flier, and that was a big shot. But he can fight all around. He's used to fighting kind of big guys as well. Now he's a big heavyweight, but he's fought Maurice Green and Vassell and Fahea and others as well. That Jurgen De Castro win as well, where he knocked him out. De Castro would be throwing bombs a little bit similar to Santos, although Santos, he once did that. I actually don't think he does that much anymore. But anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah, I just think Goltsov will have too much for him. Short notice, heavyweight. I don't think Santos is going to move as well, and I think he'll probably get taken down and lose that way. Right, that is that parlay, and that's -154. I'm also giving you a parlay for the women's division, and it's a -148 parlay of Dakota Ditcheva, Taila Santos, and Juliana Velasquez to win their 3 fights. The only one I was a bit taken back by was the price for Taila Santos. She was around the the prices for them, let me just call it out there, -400, -400, and -1400 for Ditcheva, which added to -148. Now, those prices, there's big variations in all of those, and they're moving around a little bit. I actually see Ditcheva's out even further now, so if maybe my price is a little bit kinder, but we leave it and we look at it that way. I think, first of all, Ditcheva, that's the easiest one. Chelsea Hackett, she's not going to be able to hack it, unfortunately for her. I don't think. Ditcheva is just a brilliant fighter. Hackett 4-2-1 now in her career. Lost to Jenna Bishop last time. Jenna Bishop is a good fighter, but I don't think she showed anything that will be a big issue for Ditcheva. How are you going to beat someone like Ditcheva? Maybe like a very strong wrestler or something like that. I don't think she is that. She's one submission win in her career. Okay, it was against Kai Bennett, but I think Ditcheva is just going to use her length, going to kind of run around her and finish her pretty easily. I think. I think Taila Santos, as I said, has the toughest route of them all going in there against Jenna Bishop, but I just think Taila Santos has looked so good over the last while. I do think she'll win. It's funny, she's 30 years of age, but she's 23 fights as well, 16 finishes in her career. That's an awful lot for a 125-pound women's fighter. And look, she had a tough time in her last couple of fights in the UFC, looking to losing to Valentina Shevchenko and the now fraud-checked Ikram Banchfield. She's a very good fighter, but you know what people say. But look, if you look at the women she's beaten before, at Joanne Wood, Roxanne Mataferi, Gillian Robertson absolutely destroyed Molly McCann, and many others as well. So I think it's going to be tough for Jenna Bishop. But look, Bishop, 38 years of age is the only thing I would say. She's only 7 fights into her career. That Chelsea Hackett win, Leora Johanna win was very good, and Alina Kalindu as well over in Bellator. She's a good fighter. So I was at that fight, if I'm not mistaken. And look, she can fight all around. She can fight, obviously, very good on the ground, with most of her wins coming via submission. But I think Santos is very good on the ground as well. If that's the way you're planning on beating Santos, I think you have an issue there. She's never been submitted in those 23 fights in her career. And, I mentioned some of the people she's been in with, like Roxy and others as well, who are good on the ground. And she didn't have much of an issue there. So I think it'd probably be a striking matchup. And maybe a decision for Taila Santos there, but I do think she'll win. And then Juliana Velasquez, again, I'm picking Velasquez here because I think that price against someone like Lisa Malden, if this happened a couple of years ago, it'd be probably -2,500 or something like that. Now, Velasquez has lost 3 times in a row to Liz Carmouche, but that's a bit unfair. Like, you're fighting Liz Carmouche over and over and over again. I really like her as a fighter. Now, she, again, 37 years of age, getting on. But I think if she wins this fight, gets a bit of that confidence back, and then goes in against someone who isn't named Liz Carmouche, I think she could cause issues in this. Now, I could be completely wrong, and she might be finished as a fighter and lose to Lisa Malden. But I don't think so. I do think I respect her skills an awful lot more than that. Now, no offense to Lisa Malden or anything like that. Look, she's a 6-4 fighter, and she's won a fight or 2 fights even in the PFL, beating Helen Peralta and Desiree Yanez. But I don't think they're of the level of the others. Look, she lost. She was the fighter who fought Dakota against Dakota Ditcheva last time out, and she's almost certainly going to lose here again, I think, if that's anything to go by. And then so that is that's the treble. Ditcheva, Santos, and Velasquez for a price of around -148. Might be a little bit, might be up to -200-ish or so now. But even then, I think that's a good treble. I think they're all pretty much guaranteed winners there. Right. So the last bet, actually, I've gone for a second bet from the UFC, and I'm going for this is the flyer of the week that I'm very much not convinced of, but I'm going for Ikram Aliskerov to submit Antonio Tricoli in round 1 at +700. So I'm going for a big one here. I was looking through a lot of these fights, and obviously, there isn't a lot of the prices out yet. But I got this one, and I'm going to go for it now. Looking at his record, he's 15 wins, and they're very much evenly split, almost between knockout submissions, decisions, 6, 5, and 4. So 5 submissions in his career today, and he's not exactly one of these guys. Sometimes you see all early in their career. 3 of his last 6 fights have been won by submission. One of them in the first round, okay, not the other ones, but earlier in his career. Then he did have another 2 first round submissions in his career. So I think he got against a guy like Tricoli, who is, has a few submissions of his own, but also has kind of knockout power. You see him; he's kind of a big brute of a guy. I think Aliskerov, obviously, he's normally the bigger and taller guy, but looking at Tricoli, and he's one of those guys you look at and go, wait, how big is this guy? And then you look at his height and go, or is he fighting someone like really small or something? I didn't. Actually, I just see he's on a contender series fight now, which I did manage to see, but I saw some of him on the YouTubes. But he's 6'5" versus 6 foot, so he's going to be massive. I actually think that leans more towards, and that was kind of the biggest reason I went for the submission. I think Aliskerov won't be as willing to strike and use his length, obviously, with a guy like this who's going to be so much longer than him. Now, is he as good a striker as him or as technical as him? Well, you can decide that. I would probably say, maybe not. But will that allow Aliskerov to use his wrestling more, to take him down more? I know he's flying knees in there and different things. Or even, Will Tricoli, who has a lot of submissions in there, who's a big and strong guy, likes to put people on the ground. Will he try to take Aliskerov down? And we see Aliskerov loves a Kimura. He's lots of them, in a sweep or something like that, or even if there is a slip or a knockdown or something like that, to catch when it's a guy who's like known for his Kimuras. I think that's always the Kimura is the best submission. I think if you're really good at them, to get any time in a fight. Like, it's very hard, and I know, like, okay, submissions don't work as well as they used in MMA, but if you're like a triangle master or whatever, it's very hard to like get someone on the ground on top of you in a great position to triangle them multiple times in a fight, right? Okay, you can pull guard and all, but people can stand up or people won't take you down or whatever. You might never get in that position. For a Kimura one, there's usually a clinch in the fight. You can kind of, if you don't get clinch yourself, you can get the clinch. You can find yourself like throwing a big punch inside, and you find yourself kind of not necessarily in a clinch, but together with a guy on the inside, and you can catch that and make him kind of, or put you in a position where he can take you down, or you can take him down and catch him in one. I don't know. I think Kimuras are and from the fence as well, we see him an awful lot, and I think the Kimura sweeps we've seen an awful lot more recently as well. So, obviously he's very, very good at them. And it's something, not always the submission you can get against a bigger, maybe stronger man, granted 100%, but maybe there's something else. Maybe throw in another submission in there. So there you go. That is it. That's the Flyer first round submission from Aliskerov. Right, we'll have a quick look at some of the other bets. Obviously, I've gone through most of the PFL already, so we won't dwell on that too much. The one or two fights, Davion Franklin versus Popov. Franklin, the underdog there, plus 220. I was talking about this the other day, and I was looking at that price, and I was thinking, in the heavyweight division, like Popov is probably going to win, but you never know. You never know in the heavyweight division. But no, I'll lean Popov. I like Fortune against Golm. He is the favorite there at minus 170. Juliana and Shanna Young is almost a pick'em fight. Juliana is the favorite. I'd normally go for the underdog as well. I've no great great faith in Joanna at all. And then we've Dylan Marquez against Tim Johnson. Again, Tim Johnson, is he the same fighter as he used to be? He's a big enough favorite there, minus 250 in some places. Dylan Marquez, you can get him at plus 190. Yeah, he didn't really impress me the last time I saw him. I'd probably, if you could get Tim Johnson under minus 200, I'd probably go for him, but over that, I'd probably leave it. And yeah, those are the main bets from the Professional Fighters League. There's an Aries card as well this weekend. Jordan Zebo is on this card, who you'll remember from his big fight with, what's his name? Oh my God. I can't remember his name. The Kylian Mbappe's best friend over in PFL. Anyway, what's his name? Cedric Doumbé. But yeah, he's minus 330 for his fight here. I like that price. I like that price a lot. Samir Fedin is a fight here. He's minus 200 against Lucas Rodriguez. Sofian Bakaju, the long-time heavyweight, again, he has a fight here as well. Demir Imavov. There's some good fighters and good fights on this Aries card. Sarah Fern as well, who I believe was in the UFC, is on this. So yeah, some good stuff over there. And then we have the UFC, which this card is not good. Douglas Silva and Andrade versus Miles John. Pick 'em fight again there. I'd probably lead Miles John. He is basically the favorite at minus 125. Looking a bit at this guy, Asu Alambayev. He's a big favorite there. He does look good, but again, he's minus 500, minus 600. Probably not betting on that. Lucas Almeida is an underdog against Timothy Kwamba. Never heard of him. Fugit and Quinlan, again, close enough to pick 'em fight. I probably just about lean Quinlan there. I like Garrett Armfield as well in his fight. The best fight in the card, apart from the main event, is probably Joshua Van versus Tagir Ulanbekov. I was hoping for a bit more value in Ulanbekov, but minus 220. I don't think there's enough there. Manis and Flick. Nate Manis at minus 500 against Jimmy Flick. Jimmy Flick is not a great fighter, but I was looking at that as one of the flyers maybe. Jesus. But yeah. And then I like the opener as well. Shailen Nordembeke against Melquizel Costa, name I can't pronounce it. Costa is a favorite, minus 200. And again, that's a potential underdog win there. I do like Nordembeke, so am I giving that as a tip? No, but there you go. Who cares? That card is there. I'm normally very positive on these podcasts here on the betting show especially, but I couldn't give a toss about this card. It's terrible. Right, let's recap the bets before we go. Liz Carmouche minus 250, Taira minus 180, a parlay in the heavyweight division of Moldavsky and Goltsov at minus 154, a minus 148 parlay in the women's 125 division, Ditcheva, Santos, Velasquez, and then we've Aliskerov via first round submission at plus 700. That is it from me. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com. Please responsibly. We'll see you all next time.